Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be looking at a significant topic in CBSE Class X Biology, Chapter 15, Our Environment. And this topic is Biomagnification. Through this video, I hope to provide an in-depth explanation of the definition, causes, problems, impacts, and solutions of this phenomenon. So without any further ado, let's begin. What is biomagnification? If you break down this word, we have a prefix, bio, which means life, and the suffix is magnification, which means to enlarge or increase by a specific multiple. So times 2, times 4, that's magnification. How are these two words correlated to each other? Let's find out. The textbook definition of biomagnification is a phenomenon wherein the concentration of chemicals and pesticides increases as we go up the food chain. Let's look at a food chain. As you all know, the driving force behind every food chain and food web is the sun. So plants synthesize food using non-living abiotic substances such as sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. And these plants provide nutrition to goats, and the goats are eaten by the tiger. A food chain essentially illustrates a flow of energy from producers to consumers, and every stage or level of the food chain is called a trophic level. So in this triangle, you can see that there's 4 main trophic levels. At the bottom tier, we have producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, and the pinnacle is the tertiary consumers. A pattern to observe here is that the size or biomass of the organisms increases as we go up the trophic levels. So producers have the smallest size and tertiary consumers have the largest size. Similarly, the population of tertiary consumers is the lowest and the population of the producers is the highest. If we go back to our food chain here, we can see that the producers would mean the green plant. The primary or secondary consumer would be the goat, and the tertiary consumer would be the tiger. The population of tiger is the lowest, but the size of the tiger is the highest. And the population of the green plants are the highest, although its size might be the smallest. So now we'll look at the role of chemicals and pesticides in the food chain. Pesticides and insecticides are sprayed on crops and green plants to eradicate or eliminate small insects and pests that eat away the crops, which subsequently increases the yields. However, these substances are non-biodegradable, meaning that they're not digested by the organism. They remain in that organism forever, for decades. And so, when an organism of the next trophic level eats this organism that contains pesticides for nutrition, the next trophic level also accumulates these pesticides. So if the green plant has 0.2 parts per million or ppm of a pesticide called DDT, then the goat, which eats the plants, would accumulate or concentrate 0.4 ppm, and the tiger would accumulate 0.8 parts per million. So as we progress to the right of the food chain, the concentration of pesticides increases. But why? As I mentioned earlier, the size or biomass of the organism increases as we go up the trophic levels. And this means that the top levels require a higher quantity of food to meet their energy demands. So a goat would have to eat 2 plants that each contain 0.2 parts per million of DDT pesticides to meet its energy demands. And so that accumulates 2 plants 0.2 ppm each to a concentrate of 0.4 parts per million in the goat. And the tiger, which is at the pinnacle or the apex of the trophic level triangle, would have to eat 2 tigers to meet its energy demands or nutritional demands. So that accumulates to 0.4 plus 0.4, and the tiger has a concentrate of 0.8 parts per million. So reverting back to our definition here, we can see and add another point that the maximum concentration of any pesticide is highest at the top of the food chain. And if you didn't know, we, humans, are at the very top of the food chain, thanks to our development in weapons and superiority in technology. So how does this impact humans? It results in several long-term health implications. It causes Neenock syndrome, development issues and neurological diseases, as well as cancer. So these pesticides not only impact the environment, ecosystem, and biodiversity, but they can also cost human life. What's the solution to this? The most apparent solution to everyone would be to eliminate the use of pesticides. But there are several problems associated with this decision. Several small and marginal farmers in India are adamantly refusing a transition to a cleaner method of farming, which is organic farming. And in organic farming, 0% of any chemicals or pesticides are used. But it requires more land, which is unsustainable and even unimaginable for small and marginal farmers in India who own less than 2.5 hectares. In fact, the average landholding size in India is around 1.8 hectares, 1.8 to 2. So it's unsustainable in India. Also, organic farming results in lower yields, which indicates a lower supply, and this creates a higher demand. So higher demand leads to a spike in prices. And to afford these prices, people have to have higher standard of living. But if we're not able to increase our standard of living, then the percentage of impoverished, starving, malnutrition children would increase. This would impact human health. We won't be able to generate human capital, and that would impact our GDP growth. So organic farming could ultimately result in an undesirable, unintended chain of consequences, which is why several economists suggest that it might not be the ideal solution for this pesticide issue. Ultimately, we need to derive a solution which is good for the farmers and good for the environment. But how can we strike a balance between the two? This requires think tanks and policy intervention. But there is definitely a solution because nothing is impossible. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, I hope you had a great learning experience. Although the biomagnification topic in this chapter 15, Our Environment, is confined to the biological part, it has several implications towards our society, and it's definitely an existential threat and pressing issue. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and until the next one, this is Initial Tube signing off. Peace.